Before beginning any chapter, I want to ask you, what do you think? Who loves us most in the world? Okay? Who loves you most in this world? Okay? Who? What do you think? It can be your friend. Is it? It can be your classmate. It can be a relative. Do you think any of them loves you most in this world? I'm sorry to say, but no one. You know who? It's your parents. Your parents are the only one who loves you most in this world. You cannot compare the love of all of them with your parents, because these are the only person who are going to love you the most in this world, and beside them no one else in this world can do so many things for you like your parents do. Okay, so this is a concept, this is a thought that you people already know, but still I just remind you. Okay, now what happens when we grow up? What happens when we grow up? When we grow up, we start to learn new things. What do? We start to learn new things. Because when we are born, we don't know everything in this world. So what happens? We generally start to learn new things. And then what happens? As we learn new things, what develops? Opinion. Opinion develops in our mind that what is right and what is wrong. What happens? A difference between right and wrong. This opinion develops in our mind that no, this is right, so I will do this, and this is wrong, I will not do this. So studying is so boring, so I'm not going to study, and playing is so good for it's so good, it's so attractive, so I'm going to play. So this type of a thought comes in our mind when we start to learn new things. Okay, but we are not matured, we have seen less things in our life, so sometimes what happens, we are not properly guided. What happened? We are not properly guided. Lack of guidance. Lack of guidance sometimes becomes an issue where what happens, we completely forget that how should we judge the right and the wrong, the ethical thing and the unethical thing. So due to the lack of guidance, this type of difference in our behavior, in our opinion, happens when we start to learn new things in the process of growing up. So for that, what do we need? We need proper guidance to know what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes you have seen some people do robbery. So for their opinion, in their opinion, they are doing the right thing. Why? Because they think, no, I don't have money, so I will rob. So according to them, they think I'm doing a very right thing. But is it actually right? No, it's wrong. So we think, no, we should not study, and that is right. But is it right in your long-term future? Will not studying is going to give you anything bright in the future. Whatever you are playing or whatever you are wasting your time in doing all sort of things that you are doing, will those things bring you anything in your life in the future? No. So what happens, due to the lack of guidance, sometimes we consider the wrong thing as right and the right thing is wrong. And we gradually waste our time doing these wrong things, which in the future results in a very bad future. Okay, so what is most necessary in our life when we grow up and when we start to learn new things? The main thing which is necessary in our life is proper guidance. And you know what? A person can be more mature, a person can reach 20, 30 years of age and everything, but still that person needs guidance in his or her life. Okay, we at some point we are subjected to doing wrong thing, and that to avoid those wrong things we need proper guidance. And what do you think, who can give you the best guidance in the world? Of course, the people who loves us most. So our parents can give the best guidance to us. Why? Because they are the only human being who never considers about their own benefit. What do? They consider what is good for the child. Okay, so what do they consider? They consider what is good for the child, and so these parents give proper guidance. Why? Because they know what is good for the child. So if you are unable to take any sort of decision, you should never ask your friends or relative or classmates or anyone. Rather, whom should you ask? You should ask that to your parents, because they are the only people in this world who is going to guide you properly. No one else can think of your betterment so much like they can think. Okay, but what? But sometimes what happens, we cannot take or accept the opinion of our parents, and what happened? Clashes, quarrels, and all sort of things happen when we are subjected to our friend circle or relative circle or some circle which is unhealthy. When people who are toxic, when people who are negative, when people who actually don't love us but show that they love us, those sort of people, when they interfere in our life and when they give us very bad guidance, what happens? We think, okay, this is right. Why? Because we are just growing up, we haven't seen the world, and our parents say, no, don't do that. So that type of a time clashes happen. Suppose you are there and your exam is tomorrow. One of your friend came to your house and tells you, okay, let's go and have some fun. Tomorrow is exam, so what? Just let's go and have some fun. And you are very much attracted towards that fun, and you think, okay, I should go. क्या होगा अगर 1 घंटे के लिए चले गए तो? So this type of thought comes in your mind. So let us go for a walk, or let us go and play some games or some online things. So and just waste our time. So what? That exam is there. So a friend came and did this to you, and then your parents say, no, don't go. It's your exam tomorrow. You need to study hard. You cannot go. And so what happens, then you realize, no, my parent is actually interfering in my fun. So quarrel happens and clashes happen. But think, is it even true? That friend who tells you to go for fun, does he even think good for you? What will it happen? What will it result in? It will result in a bad future. Your exam will be spoiled, you will fail in your exam, and this sort of things are going to happen to you if you listen to that bad friend. But instead, if you listen to your parents, what will happen? It will result in a good future. What will happen? It will result in a good future. Okay, so whenever you are unable to take any decision, or whenever any friend of yours or anyone in their family or friend or whatever it is you come across suggests you something and you are going to take a step in your life, kindly just listen to them, listen to your parents, and kindly do whatever they tells them, because they are the person, they are the only person in this world who is going to show you the right way. No one else. Everyone will be selfish. Your friend will be selfish. Your friend will think, okay, uska exam spoil ho gaya, chalo, his marks is less and my marks is more. So this type of a mentality will be there in your friend's mind. But in your parents' mind, no such mentality will ever prevail. He or she will, your parents will only think of what is good for you. Okay. So now this clashes and whatever I'm talking about, this sort of things, and this sort of mentality where I'm telling you that you should always listen to your parents and not to anyone else, and not even to yourself also. When you are having clashes to your parents, remember, we are mostly we are wrong and our parents are right. Okay, so this type of a mentality where one girl thinks that she is right and her mother, and she thinks that her mother is wrong, but actually her mother is right. Okay, and she is actually wrong. So one girl who is right but in reality is wrong is facing some issues with a mother who is actually right, but in the eyes of this girl she is wrong. So two characters, one girl and a mother, and some clashes and some right and wrong things, who is right, who is wrong, who is disturbing, who is not. These sort of issues we are going to deal in our new lesson. And this girl's name is Amanda. And this name brings us to our new chapter, our new poem, whose name is Amanda. So, Amanda is one little girl who is having some clashes with her mother, who is not so matured like you, who is not so intelligent like you. That is why this girl is doubting her mother. We don't, you people also don't doubt your mother, because you people are matured enough. You people are under good guidance, so you people don't judge your mother, and you never misbehave with your mother also. But this girl is a bit different, and we will see that what goes on in her mind, which is absolutely not acceptable. Okay, so Amanda is written by Robin Nancy Moore Klein. Okay, and in short we know him as Robin Klein. Okay, so this is the poet of this poem, Amanda, and this poet is from where? Australia. So he is an Australian poet. And what is the tendency of this poet? The tendency is writing book for children and for young adults. Okay, so just like this, this is the child, this is the little girl. So this type of sort of things, like young age things, he deals with. He doesn't deals with much more adult concept. He doesn't deal with age old concept. But what he deals with? He deals with books for young children, or books for children and young adults. And next, two of his famous books that are Hating Alison Ashley and People Might Hear You. Okay, so the main tendency of this poet is that he writes for book for children. So what type of things we can expect in this poem? Emotions of these children or young adults, means those children who are growing up. So we expect to see the emotional problems that children or young adults face. Okay, so I expect that while reading this poem, you people will react very much maturely and will not relate yourself with Amanda. Please just kindly avoid this girl's attitude. It's in our syllabus, we are doing it, but the character that this girl is showing is very much realistic. What I'm telling, it's realistic. Okay, it's very much realistic. It happens with us, I know, but still try to avoid this sort of concept. So this shouldn't be your ideal character. This character is not ideal. Okay, not ideal. Okay, but very much realistic. So it happens, but it's not ideal. Like just that in a thief, you have seen a thief story. One person stole something, and then it was some ethical issue that he gave that money back. So that character is not ideal. Okay, then we came to know about that Horace Danby. Horace Danby was a thief, but he was not totally honest. But what happens, we got some sympathy for him. Okay, so that is a thing. These are realistic characters we are dealing with, who have some problems, who have some flaws in their character. So these characters are not ideal characters. So we are not going to relate with this. I have told you to relate in the previous poem, when we are doing the ball poem. When we were doing the ball poem, I told you what? To relate with the boy. Relate with the boy who lost the materialistic being. But here, be a third person, just be a listener and try to understand her psychology. Try to understand her bond, her problems with her mother, and don't just sit in her place and do things as she is doing. Okay? So from an outside narrative, we are going to see this chapter. Now coming to the questions. What type of questions will come? Extract based, short answers, long answers. Okay. Extract based, you know, it will be given from the chapter itself and it will have 4 marks with 4 questions. Short answer, it will be of 2 marks if syllabus doesn't changes, and long answer, it will be of 8 marks, and we are concentrating on which type of long answer? Value based. Value based means you have to understand it. You have to understand that what realistic things are going to happen. Such questions can come. Do you think Amanda is right or wrong? What will you do if you sit in Amanda's position? Like in the ball poem, certain questions can come that what will you do if you are in the position of the boy and if you lost the belongings? So that sort of questions where your position in this chapter is very much necessary. Your outlook in this chapter is very much necessary. Okay. So answers will vary from person to person, but still I expect you people to have a good value based answer, to have a good ethical answer and a matured one. Okay. So now what the poem deals with. What does the poem deals with? The poem deals with a little girl named Amanda. Okay, what is the name of the girl? Amanda, who is constantly pointed. What happens? Constantly pointed. Constantly pointed means constantly questioned and constantly asked about certain things and all those things, constantly pointed out by her mother. Who points her out? Her mother. A little girl Amanda who is constantly pointed out by her mother. And what does her mother thinks? For her mother, and for what she is pointed out? What is the cause of her mother pointing out her? Is that she is making mistakes. She is making mistakes which her mother considers as not a part of the code of good conduct. Okay, so she is making mistakes, such mistakes which are not considered to be good. Okay, so Amanda is getting pointed out by her mother for making mistakes. Now, mistakes which I told you again, mistakes which her mother considers as not a part of the code of good conduct. Okay. Laid out by the society in which we live. Okay, so code of good conduct, mark this thing. What do you mean by code of good conduct? Good conduct means when you are involved with another person in any sort of conversation, or when you are involved in your life with any sorts of thing that involves a public show, like when society is involved. So in that thing you need to maintain a code. Like what? Like a very simple thing I'm telling you, polishing your shoes. Okay, people generally judge us in this society not by heart but by our looks. So what matters? Our outlook. So here are certain things in this poem that I will tell you deals with outlook that the society wants to see, like polishing your shoes or cutting your nails or all those things. Okay, when you are in a official position, maintaining your nails and all those sort of things, like your hair, and then your way of talking, like if you are talking to anyone, if you don't begin it with a good tone like a good morning or a good evening, and while talking with anyone, you need to maintain a very soft voice, a very healthy tone, which should be very positive. So all this type of conduct, all this sort of outlook, that is known as code of good conduct. Okay, so we are not going to see so much details. Just for the example, I told you some examples of good conduct. But in this poem, we are going to deal with 2 or 3 good conducts, like sitting posture and all those things, which are terrifically important in your society. And you know what, because society is going to judge you, even with the, generally happens not in our country, but if you sometimes go abroad, or if you sometimes go in a different society where these things matter, you will see, even if a person, if he is not totally well dressed, or if he is sitting in a bad manner with her legs in somewhere, hands somewhere, those things are not considered to be a good conduct. Okay, so those things are very important to maintain in certain society. So I'm not getting so much involved in those good conduct thing, because that's another part. And if you will read English literature later on, you will find thousands of such good conducts in thousands of literature here, and generally you will learn all those things. Okay, and then you will also feel that, okay, this is wrong and this is right. So that's a separate issue of this subject that you will come across, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm sure you will love it if you're going to read this later on. Now, as I'm telling you, let's begin now. Okay, so after this good conduct, society, all those things which you already kept in mind, now we will see the explanation portion. See the first line. Don't bite your nails. Amanda. This line begins this poem. Don't bite your nails. You know what? This is considered as a horrible act in some society. This is not a good thing that you people are actually means that the poet wants to say. Don't be judgmental. If someone is doing this, it's okay, it's their choice. Don't go and interfere and then tell them, no, you're doing a very bad thing. Okay, but for some people it's horrible. Like whom? Like Amanda's mother. So Amanda's mother tells, don't bite your nails. This is not a good conduct. If you're going to go for an interview at a certain position, and you're sitting in front of certain people and you start biting your nails, maybe that person can be like Amanda's mother and judge you. So it's better to avoid this sort of code of conducts that are not necessarily acceptable in our society. But being every person has their choice, this is the 21st century, so everyone is free to do whatever they like. So we are not going to judge, we are just going to see what Amanda's mother thinks. Okay, don't bite your nails, Amanda. Next, as I was telling you, you know what? Bend. Okay, so don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda, means don't bend, like sitting in a bending postures. When you're bending your shoulders down, that thing is also not considered as a good code of conduct. So her mother is telling to avoid Amanda sitting in that position. These sort of things are so well maintained in certain society, that Amanda's mother is actually teaching her daughter this code of conducts about nails, about sitting postures, and there will be other certain so many types of good conduct. I will tell you, you know what? If you come across, in our English literature, I've told you about Old English, means those English literature texts which are written of very many years ago. Okay, they were written many years ago, and there was one author named Chaucer. Okay, this is one author in the Old English thing. He once wrote a text. He once wrote a poetry sort of thing known as the Canterbury Tales, and there was one character of a so-called nun. Okay, One character was there of nun in very previous English literature. She just maintained her code of conduct. She even ate a soup in such a manner that that no droplet touched her lips. There was so much sophistication and so many things that even if we think of doing such thing, that we will eat the soup and it will not touch us, we can't even imagine like that sort of eating. But that was considered as a very good thing in that society of old English literature. So similar concept is there in Amanda's mind. Okay, so don't include this Chaucer thing in your answers. Okay, I just for an example I showed you this thing. Okay, now next what happens after getting all these tortures from her mother? Her mother is telling her to maintain those good code of conduct, but for Amanda these are just sheer torture. Okay, she's not accepting all these things in a good manner. So how is she reacting? By imagining. Okay, listen, one thing is very important. The author is telling here that she is imagining. She is not quarreling. Okay, no sort of quarreling is happening. She is not shouting on her mother. So learn this thing from Amanda. When your mother teaches you something, or when our mother teaches us something, we shouldn't shout on that person. What she is doing, she is disliking her mother, no doubt, but she is reflecting her behavior. She is doing her approach in an imaginary format rather than on a shouting format. She is not reacting towards her mother. Instead, she is in her mind. So no sort of quarrel is there, no sort of bad behavior is there in this girl. Okay, she is not a girl of bad behavior. If certain character analysis comes about this character, you are going to mention this point, that she has maintained a very good behavior with her mother by not shouting at her, by not yelling at her. Instead, she is in her own world imagining things. Okay, now what is she imagining? She is imagining that she is in a deep green sea. So what is she imagining? She is imagining that she is in a deep green sea and she is a mermaid. See the psychological thing. I doubt any of you could imagine all this sorts of. Do you even imagine these things, that I am a mermaid, or I am Spider-Man, or I am this, or I am that? Maybe, I don't know if you imagine this in class 10. If you imagine, please kindly write a paragraph. I'm going to give you that activity only in this lesson, and I'm going to see who writes what. Okay, so this is the thing, that she's imagining herself as a mermaid. When someone is telling her, don't bite your nails, don't sit like that, she is not even in the world. She is just in her world, and what her world is totally a sea, where she is a mermaid and she is resting in the sea. And what is happening? She is resting in which manner? Languid. In a languid manner means relaxed. She is resting in a relaxed manner. Okay, so this is the condition of her when her mother was shouting and doing all sorts of things. Okay, fine. Next what happens? Amanda's mother is inquiring of her whether she had done her homework or not. Next thing is that homework. What her mother asks her about? Homework. Okay, it is very important. Our mother also asks her, and we shouldn't react like Amanda. Okay. Next is whether she has cleaned her room or not. Next what she asks? She asks whether she has cleaned her room or not. And next she reminds her that clean your shoes. Reminds, okay. Reminds. This last point is reminds. Okay, so her mother is asking for homework, clean room, and clean your shoes. Okay, can you see all this thing that the mother is constantly asking Amanda? Is she doing something wrong? Whose benefit will be there if Amanda's room is cleaned? If Amanda's shoes are cleaned, who is going to get all the credit? If someone says, okay, Amanda is wearing dirty shoes, if Amanda's friend sees, what will happen? No one will like Amanda. But if the shoes are clean, what will people think? Okay, Amanda is wearing such a good shoe. Okay, so nice of her. If Amanda's homework is done, what will happen? People will praise, teacher will praise Amanda. Okay, Amanda is a very good girl. And if homework is not done, what will happen? People will tell, teacher will tell, Amanda is a bad girl. She is not doing the homework. So all this question that the mother is asking, is there anything negative? Or is the mother selfish? That is the mother thinking about herself? No, you can see all the questions that are related here that the mother is constantly asking Amanda is for the betterment of this child. She is not being selfish. Instead, she is such a good woman that she is constantly thinking of betterment of the girl. The mother is not telling, go and cook for me. No, she is constantly asking Amanda about all sorts of things that are related to Amanda. Okay. Now, we have now seen this from her mother's mentality. Now, let's shift again to Amanda's mentality. Okay, now what happens to Amanda? She again listens, okay? She doesn't react, okay? Now, next what happened? Next, this girl's imagination is actually not terrible sort of imagination. She is now imagining that if she was an orphan, then what she would do? Means if her mother and father were not alive, how would she feel? I mean, it's just terrific to imagine in that sort of manner that if parents are not there, what will we do? It's just horrible imagination. But this girl is such an extent, well versed in her imaginary world that she can even afford thinking such horrible things which every children fear. Okay, so one thing, see, Amanda's mother is constantly, mark this word. Why is this girl disturbed? What is happening here? Why is she imagining all sorts of things? Because her mother is constantly disturbing her by asking all sorts of things according to her. So that is what it is happening. Her mother is asking constantly questions to her, and there is some problem with this girl's imaginary world that she is thinking such sort of things. But don't judge this girl, okay? Don't judge her. Whatever she is thinking, we know that it is wrong. But being the student of English literature, you have in your head, you have to keep what her mother, Amanda, what the poet thinks, what society thinks, all those things. You have to judge a poem with all this perspective. You are the outsider who is just watching this film from outside. Okay. So we are not going to judge anyone over here. We're just going to write what is right and what is wrong. So this one is, she's imagining, she's having some problem. Okay, that's why she's imagining. No children could imagine all sorts of things. Okay, no one in the world is going to imagine all sorts of things. But still, this girl is imagining. Means she just doesn't like it. Okay, it's not her fault. Okay, we are not going to judge her about this. Next. Now she thinks that she would have been, without parents, she would have walked freely. Okay, what she would do? Walk freely. And then what she would do? She thinks, I patterned, just read this line, I patterned soft dust with my hushed bare feet. Okay, with my hushed bare feet. So she thinks she just want to put the feet on the dust and do it, to play with the dust thing and do all sorts of thing in the dust by drawing patterns, means just drawing designs in the soft dust with her feet. So she wants to, with her feet, she wants to rub her feet in the dust and make designs with that feet thing. Okay, but see one thing, her mother was telling her about cleaning. Have you noticed this? Her mother was telling about cleaning, and what does she wants to deal with? Dust. See, now this is the inner meaning which nowhere in the poem is mentioned, but we have to catch that. So what is the inner meaning over here? The inner meaning is that her mother wants to keep everything neat and clean. What does the mother wants? Everything neat and clean. But Amanda wants to play in dust with her bare feet. But Amanda deals with dust. Okay. So this type of opposite thing, what is in the Amanda's mother's mind is not in Amanda's mind, and whatever is Amanda's mother saying, she is just thinking as the opposite of that. So it's a very nice concept, and you are going to include all these things in your answer, this inner meaning thing. Okay. So just not that I want to make, I am thinking like that, I am just doing this thing. No, this thought of dust, this thought came from this psychology, that her mother is telling her constantly to clean. So from this psychology, this thing came in her mind. Okay, so understand the interlinked things over here. So everyone is just going to write this line. With what she is thinking, she is thinking she will be an orphan, she will walk freely, and she will play with dust. Full stop. Answer completed. No, you're going to mention this cleaning thing also over there. Okay. Amanda says another thing. You know what? Silence is golden. Why? Because her mother is constantly talking. So again, we can't judge Amanda about this thing. Why? Because she thinks her mother is constantly talking, so she needs some silence, she needs some patience. So the silence thing becomes so important in her life. So she dislikes her mother's continuous questions, that whatever is happening, she wants silence, she wants her own world, she wants whatever she likes, she can do all those things like being a mermaid and being this and being that and whatever, all those things. So she, according to her, silence is golden, means I hope that Amanda is hoping that her mother is not here, and her mother not asks her any questions. So that's why she mentioned silence is golden. So what we have seen until now, we have seen Amanda, a little girl. We have seen Amanda's mother doing what? Amanda's mother continuously asking her about her nails, asking her about her, after nails, Amanda's mother asking her about her sitting posture. Okay, so these are the two questions that Amanda's mother firstly, not questions, these are the two things that Amanda's mother told her. And then what happened to the consequences? Consequences is that Amanda imagines herself as a mermaid. Okay, over. Next Amanda's mother asks her about homework, and then Amanda's mother asks her about cleaning the room, and then reminds about clean shoes. And what is the consequences? The consequences is that Amanda imagines herself as an orphan, and that clean and dust issue. What issue? Clean and dust issue. Okay, so this is the thing that we get from this chapter until now. The next portion, what are the other imaginary thing that comes into the mind of this girl? We will see that in our next lecture. So, as I was telling you, I want you to do this thing. Okay, so this is the thing I want you to do, that you want to write, I want you people to write a paragraph on the unrealistic things that you imagine in your free time, and I hope I will find this in your notebook when I check it. And so in this unrealistic thing, it can be, I told you, as Spider-Man, Superman, Cinderella, or whatever things, and you can write that. No one is going to see except me, of course. So you can write all sorts of imaginary things, and it will be fun, you know, it will be very much fun for you too. At least if you have not imagined anything, just sit and imagine. You can write as, okay, I will be a scientist one day and all those things, but I want true answers. I don't want answers to impress anyone. I don't want answers that are like, no, I will be an astronaut and I will do this, I will go to NASA and I will do all sorts of things. If that is not in your mind, then don't write I want more unrealistic answers than ambitious answers. I want those answers that develop from your imaginary level. Okay, so whatever goes on your mind, if you are imagining that okay, I am in NASA and I am doing all sorts of things, I am going to space, kindly write all those things. Okay, and whatever you think you imagine unrealistic things, kindly write down in a paragraph form in your notebook. Okay, thank you so much, and in the next lecture we are going to meet with this girl again, and we are going to see what are all sorts of things that she imagines and from where that type of thought comes. Okay, thank you.